Let's take a look at how we configure a DNS service on a Windows 2000 machine. We'll begin by going to Start, Programs, Administrative Tools, and then DNS. Once our DNS comes up, it shows our server that we have in. If we had multiple servers configured through this, we would see those as well. I'm going to click on the plus. It's going to expand this. We have cache lookups, which will show the information that we currently have stored in cache. Our forward lookup zone, which will resolve host names to IP addresses. And the reverse lookup zone, which will resolve IP addresses to host names. If we wanted to look at some of the configurations for the server, we simply right-click on it and select Properties. There are several tabs that we can do some configuration on here. The first is the interfaces. This will allow us to make restrictions on what IP addresses we may have on our machine. If we have a multi-home system where we have multiple NIC cards and we only want to allow access through one of those NIC cards, we can do so. Forwarders would allow us to forward requests to other servers. This is not currently available on this server because this is a root server and a root server cannot forward. The Advanced tab will allow us to make some very specific modifications if we needed to do so. If we were not a root server and we wanted to have some hints that would help our server resolve the root server name, we can have root hints in here, but this is not available since we are a root server. Security will allow us to limit access to who has access to the server and what type of access they have. If you notice, the authenticated users have read-only access. We have monitoring, which will allow us to monitor what's going on. Also, we can test our DNS server from here. We can do a simple query, for instance. Check here, and we click Test Now. It's going to see if our server is working. And it did a test, and it found that it passed. The Logging tab will allow us to set certain options to log as they're occurring. I'm going to click or cancel here. If you wanted to configure information on one of your zones, for instance your forward lookup zone, you expand this and expand the zone you want to look at the configuration on. Right-click on it, select Properties. Under Properties, you have the General tab, which you can configure the dynamic updates. You can make configuration changes to the start of authority in your file, who is the responsible person, the primary server, refresh interval, retry interval, and expiration. Also, you can work with the TTL. The name server, you can add name servers here if you wanted to work back and forth to several servers for security purposes. You might wish to have the name servers added here. Under Security, you can allow certain users to have certain access, certain users just to have limited access as well. Zone transfers. Here you can limit where zones are transferred. You can have to any server, only to servers listed on the Name Services tab, which will be back here, and then only to the following servers if you wished. Under WINS configuration, you can allow DNS to check the WINS server after it's used up all its resources. This was a very important option when you had Windows NT 4. In Windows 2000, it's not that important of an option. Although if it's needed, you can very simply use the WINS forward lookup and then simply specify the IP address of your WINS server. if for some reason you were faced with a situation where you had to statically add a host, what you could do is very simply click on the zone, select New Host, put your host name, the IP address. If you check this box here, what it would do is it would also add it to the reverse lookup file as well. Then simply click on Add Host. As you can see, there's a lot of similarities between configuring your DNS in Windows NT and Windows 2000.